we are our own worst critics at times, and we try to put ourselves on a higher pedestal, but you can't put yourself on a higher pedestal than God.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like this high expectation that we have for ourselves. We have to learn how to give ourselves more grace, because it is going to be a struggle to try to obtain the life that God wants for us. But part of that struggle is part of the journey, and the reason why Jesus Christ saved us, right? This is the reason why we can accept grace and accept grace for ourselves. And that allows us to have a little bit more grace with the people around us too.
Turn on the lamp, I don't go postal till God give his stamp. We going global, I'm in with the champs. I sit at the Oval, they told me I can't,
Welcome to Turn on the Lamp podcast, the podcast that brightens your day and illuminates the path to a more enlightened life. I'm your host, Devin Lamp, and in each episode, we'll explore stories, insights, and conversations that bring light to the darkness, helping you navigate life's journey with clarity and inspiration. Just like turning on a lamp in a dim room, our goal is to cast light on topics that matter, whether it's personal growth, spirituality, or the everyday challenges we all face. We all can learn from each other's testimony to find a cozy spot as we prepare to illuminate your world one episode at a time. Welcome to Season 2, Episode 3 of Turn on the Lamp podcast. I'm your host, Devin Lamp. Today, I have my best friend here in town, all the way from Iowa, back down in D-Town, man. I'm excited to introduce him. So, quick facts about him. He was born in Dallas, Texas. He graduated from Georgetown with a bachelor's in English and African American Studies. He has a master's from the University of Iowa in creative writing. He's a producer, rapper, and audio engineer. He was a part of the John Legit Scholar for Napa Valley Writers Conference, as well as the National Association of Multicultural Education Emerging Scholars Program, specifically the Texas chapter. He's an editor of the University of Iowa's Black Poetry Review, as well as a professor at the University of Iowa. Oh, and don't forget, he is a chef and the owner of Chef Waters Kitchen. Welcome, Glen Waters. How you doing, bro?
Man, I'm doing good. First off, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to put me on this podcast for the second time. And so I just feel honored and blessed to be here. I'm ready to get into what we have going today and ready to just talk and have a good conversation like we always do, man.
Absolutely, bro. So let's start with that. You got your merchandise on,
Yes, sir.
Chef Waters Kitchen. So your catering business, Chef Waters Kitchen, is starting to gain steam.
Yeah.
And it once started off with just a simple joy of you cooking, right? How has God gifted you in this particular space to be able to do something you love and serve people with a passion?
Yeah. No, God gave me this opportunity just based on how I lived. Growing up, my mom and my dad was in the kitchen, and that was something that I believe was really rare to see, as far as being able to experience both of my parents cooking, switching on and off between those roles.
Yeah.
Roles that are typically associated with women and how they cook and how they provide. But both of my parents were providing in a way, and I always loved that. So I would just sit in the kitchen and just watch them cook, watch the different recipes that they would do, watch the different combinations and experimentations that they would create. And they had fun while they were cooking. Every now and then I'll help cut onions or dice bell peppers or make sure, food is being defrosted. But I had a small role in the kitchen, but they loved it. They loved being in the kitchen. They loved cooking new things. And so I just kind of observed that and I was just watching them continuously create and innovate. And so I always knew that I really liked cooking, but I never had a chance to put it to the test, because it was always either cooking at home, my parents were cooking, or we were going out sometimes. And so I really didn't get into cooking until I got to college. And every now and then I would cook a meal for somebody, or, I started cooking pot roast stew. That's probably one of the first things that really jumped out to me, because I just love, when the winter comes, it gets cold outside, you put some cornbread on, and then you got that pot roast stew that's been in the oven for about 3.5 hours, and it just like pulls apart. You combine it with the stew, and next thing you know, you got this amazing flavorful stew with a little bit of tomato sauce. And so that was my first meal. That was like, oh yeah, I can cook.
Yeah.
And so when I got to Georgetown, I even did pot roast stew for the church. I did like a huge pot roast stew. I did a vegetable pot roast stew. It was just vegetables and things of that nature. And I'm like, okay, like this is something. There was like a first like catering thing that I did, you know, and it was in service. It was for ministry, which meant the whole lot to me. And so I really started getting into my cooking bag when the pandemic hit. I came back to Dallas for a little bit, but going into my senior year at Georgetown, I made the executive decision to be like, hey, I think I'm going to go back to Georgetown during the pandemic and basically live off campus by myself. And I managed to get an apartment in the middle of DC, living by myself with this roommate who was an environmental consultant, and he was from France. So it was this really random situation.
Yeah.
But I had a kitchen for the first time. I had a kitchen that I could call mine. And the campus was closed. There were no opportunities to go to a cafe and get food consistently. So I started experimenting in the kitchen, doing the things that my parents did and the things that I saw them do when I was growing up. And it just really vibrated with me. All of the things that I was doing in the kitchen, it connected me to my home. It connected me to my grandparents.
Yeah.
And it made me like really, really feel more passionate about what they do and what they've done for decades as far as providing and serving specifically in the kitchen. And that just kind of stuck with me.
Yeah.
And so that's when I now transitioned to being in Iowa. And going to Iowa, one of the first things I noticed was there's a little bit less seasoning in the food. There's a little bit less seasoning.
Look, I'm going to tell y'all. So I was born in Davenport, Iowa. And Glenn used to mess with me all the time. Like, bro, y'all actually eat up there in Iowa? Like, don't y'all eat corn? I'm like, bro, yes, we eat corn, but we have flavorful food, right? But like he said, you don't see a lot of like, especially like the soul food. Like when I moved down to Texas, bro, sweet potatoes, yams, right? Candy yams. I had never heard of that. Like seriously. Or like just like actual like soul food. Like after you eat it, you KO'd on the couch, you taking a nap. But like you said, man, not to interrupt you, bro, I just wanted to mention that for sure.
Yeah, no, for sure. So yeah, I get to Iowa, I'm like, man, it's a little bit less seasoning.
Yeah.
And they had soul food restaurants in Iowa, but I'm like, it's missing. It's missing something. It's missing a little something.
Yeah.
And so, while I was there, I developed this habit of cooking for my friends, maybe doing small events or listening parties. I would cook these wide range of meals and experiment. And next thing you know, I'm like, I'm already really catering, but I'm doing it for free. And somebody was like, man, you need to sell some plates. You need to do this. You need to do that. And I'm just like, we'll see. I'm kind of busy. I'm still in school. I'm trying to graduate, all of that. But I graduated this past May last year. And so these past 9 to 10 months, I've been really working on getting the catering business on point and really taking it seriously and really creating a brand for myself. So now we have officially the Chef Waters Kitchen, and that's the brand. And it comes with a lot. It comes with its own experience. So of course, I have this everywhere I go. When I'm doing the catering event, I'm making sure I'm repping. I'm wearing this logo that was done by my best friend DeAndre Carter out in New York. And then my sister designed these shirts. She also designed these aprons right here. So when I'm cooking, I'm wearing the Chef Waters apron. So that's going. So yeah, I got a different colors of these. And then last but not least, when I'm doing any catered event, I make sure to bring this little board with me. And so this board also has like the Chef Waters on it. And it's just another way to just represent myself, represent the brand, represent something that isn't just me, represent something that has been a part of my family. And I'm able to get other people involved, like my brother in New York who did the logo, and it just makes it recognizable. And so I've been working with this Chef Waters Kitchen brand for about 9 months now. We have an Instagram called Chef Waters Kitchen, and I upload content on there. Specifically, I did a cook-off in October, and it was a really amazing opportunity to realize, I can actually do this. I can actually make food. I can actually put it out, and people who have no vested interest, who don't know who I am, they like it. They enjoy it, and they say it's some of the best food that they've had. So that's kind of how it started. and it's just going to continue to grow. So for Iowa, you got to look out for Chef Waters Kitchen.
Yeah,
sure.
Y'all look out for sure. So just to give the audience a quick kind of background of you, you were a former student athlete, right? You played football. I was blessed to play football with you in high school. Then you transitioned to play at Georgetown University, right? Kind of tell them your journey as far as battling with your concussions and the things you went through that you mentioned on season 1.
Yeah, for sure. So my journey from football is a long, long journey. I started playing football when I was 3, and I was always bigger than all of the kids that were a little bit older than me. So that was kind of my start. That was my start of always knowing, okay, I'm a big dude, I'm a big kid, learning how to grow with just how big I am. And eventually being able to play at a high level like Cedar Hill, being able to play with DeAndre, being able to play with Devin, and recognizing that we have some real talent here. And so that transitioned to getting this D1 offer and being able to play football at Georgetown. And throughout my career at Georgetown, I was swapping between playing different positions, whether it was center or guard, whether it was defensive tackle. So I was switching positions, the same thing I did in high school.
Yeah.
And by the time I got to the start of my junior year, I had a really busy summer. I was working, I was counseling for a program, I was mentoring students, and I was working out. And long story short, I just didn't have enough rest in my system. And I did a routine drill, and I got tapped on the side of my head, fell down. Everybody like, "You're all right?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine. And got up, and I noticed that the steps that I was doing in practice, they weren't coming. I wasn't snapping the ball correctly anymore. And at first, it was just something that started off as, "Oh, you're just exhausted, you're tired, you only got 3 hours of sleep last night."
Yeah.
And it ended up being something that lingered, just never really went away.
Yeah.
And so I had to learn what it meant to not be an athlete. I had to learn what it meant to not have football as a very instrumental part of my life. And for some reason, it was a really interesting time, because even though I knew there was something called athletic identity foreclosure, I never had the chance to experience it myself until then. And coming to grips with, after about 4 or 5 months, I might not ever strap on that helmet again. And it was a very difficult time, because I was going through all of these identity changes. And so that was one of my struggles, learning what to do with what I have left, feeling like, okay, I gave 18 years to this football game in hopes that I can get the most out of it. And in a way, it was like God telling me, listen, you got to play with your best friends. You got to go to Georgetown to get an education. This is where this particular part of your journey ends, and it's time to set and start a new beginning, doing other things that you're passionate and have talent for. So yeah.
So, and with you being a writer, and you doing a lot of journaling, I know you mentioned a lot of your athletic career inside of your poems. You try to incorporate that into it. So how has journaling been a crucial part of your healing?
Yeah, it's been really crucial. Journaling every day. There's a practice. There's this book called The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, and the exercise is to literally write 3 pages a day as soon as you wake up. They're called the morning pages, and with these morning pages, you are literally just writing stream of conscious every single day for 3 pages, anywhere between 30 to 40 minutes, depending on how fast you write. And that's something that has been very instrumental to my artistic creation throughout the past 3-4 years. And so going back a little bit to when I first got the concussion, writing in a journal wasn't a big thing for me. I would typically write all of my poems, or if I'm doing music, I would write all my stuff in the phone.
Yeah.
And after that, after typing in the phone, my concussion was so sensitive to me that I had to write in a journal. I literally couldn't look at my phone for longer than a minute because of my light sensitivity. So that's when I got into the practice of getting a journal, writing in it. And I noticed that what I was writing in the journal was so much more potent than what I was typing on my phone, because of the manual labor of actually moving your hand and that connection to your mind.
Yeah.
And so that became a practice of mine. I want to journal. I want to write. I want to do the mechanical movement of writing, because it's making my brain move in a different, and act and think in a different way. And so that's been a part of my writing process the whole time. And so that just continued to develop when I got to Iowa. It continued to develop as I continued to write, as I continued to develop my poetic voice, and journaling becomes an instrumental part for that because it's the primer to the poetry in a way. It's a primer to the nonfiction essays that I write and talking about culture and hip hop. It's a primer because it gets these initial thoughts that are in my head that can distract me from the writing. It gets them out on the page, and it gets them over it and out the way so I can focus on the creative aspect of it. So it's been really important for sure.
Absolutely. And that kind of, I want to lead into our discussion today based off of piggybacking off of what you just said with the idea of writing, right? You talk about the process, and that leads me to our topic today, the journey, not the destination, okay? So I want to start off with a quote. It says, "The journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step." So when God calls you deeper into a new level of growth, talk about the importance of encouraging the new journey ahead instead of shying away from it.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like journeys are sometimes split, whether you know you're taking that first step or you're already halfway through the journey to realize, wait, I'm going somewhere with this. And I've experienced both of those things in various ways. When it came to football, like I stepped in at 3 knowing, okay, there's a long journey ahead, knowing that NFL is the possible route. But when it came to poetry, I really didn't know I was taking this long journey that would be so instrumental in my life. As far as it went, poetry was a way for me to express myself on the page when my words couldn't. When you met me at such a perfect time because I spent 10 years in speech therapy before we met in 7th grade. And so those 10 years of speech therapy, I needed every single day of those 10 years because the way that my speech was set up, nobody could understand what I was saying from when I was 3 all the way to when I was like 6 or 7. And then it just started to get better and better and better with more practice. So that was its own journey. But when I started writing poetry, I realized, wait, this poetry is also helping me on this journey to find my voice, be more confident in what I talk, and be able to actually have conversations and develop like really great friendships.
Absolutely.
And so I kind of kept poetry as something that I just kind of did on the side. But when I went to Georgetown, I continued to write poetry, do open mics every now and then. And then next thing you know, it's my junior year and my professors are telling me, hey, like, you should really try to write more. Like, you should take this seriously. And I'm kind of like, what does it mean to take poetry seriously? What does that look like? Does it mean going to get my master's in poetry? Does it mean becoming a professor? Some of these things that I already was thinking about. And it turned out that poetry was the vehicle this whole time for me to start and do what I'm doing right now, which is teaching, writing poetry, and getting other students passionate about their own voice. Wow. And so I did not know that journey that started when I was in 4th grade when I wrote my first poem would lead to a decade and plus later, me using this as something that is part of my career, part of my daily, always thinking about poetry, always reading it, always writing it. And so that first step was taken a long time ago. But I just remember, I still remember this, the first poem I did in front of the class in 4th grade, that was the first time I really felt free.
Wow.
That was the first time I really felt like people could understand what I was saying and understand that, yes, I had something to say. It was important and people are willing to listen. And so from then on out, part of my journey has been continuously trying to find that voice that says, listen, I have something to say. And if you're willing to listen, then join the ride. And so that is kind of the journey and how it started. And it led me to Iowa. It led me to being a professor. And I had no idea about it until my junior year in college.
That's amazing. That's amazing, man. And we talk about, stepping on, like you said, taking a step out on faith, right? This is something that, you started to embrace, but it first started off with, okay, maybe I'm just going to step out and see where this goes, right? And I think, especially in society, it teaches us that, a lot of people are scared of stepping into something new because they don't want to fail. When we don't realize failure is sometimes leads us to our greatest our greatest accomplishments, our greatest, part of the process, right?
Yeah.
So as followers of Christ, when we decide to pick up our cross and follow him, we have to leave our old ways and die from our old life.
Yeah.
John 15:1-2 says, I'm the true vine and my Father is the gardener. He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit, while every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes so that it would be even more fruitful, right? And when we get on the process, and we may lose friends along the way, we may gain friends along the way, but there's always that initial cut. You have to leave something all behind. You are a former student athlete. You had to leave your football career behind, right? So if something or someone has left your life, God sees that it produced no more fruit, right? Just speaking to the audience, don't give the devil credit for something that God is doing in your life. If there's somebody he's removing in your life or something that he's removing in your life, is because he has more for you. He's not a God that wants to keep things from you. You know what I mean? And I don't think we realize that it's like, this is our Father.
Yeah.
Once I came to grips with like, okay, this is my Father. Like, I'm his child. He wants the best for me.
Yeah.
That's when I started embracing those things as far as like, maybe, okay, I got to leave this behind, but man, there's something greater on the horizon, right?
Yeah.
So how can someone be encouraged during a season that they may be losing friends or putting off old bad habits? How can they be encouraged?
Yeah. The signs are everywhere when you're going into those seasons. There are seasons of, and we talk about this a lot, there's this seasons of reaping, and then there's seasons of sowing, where when it feels like you're losing people in your life, you have to realize that there's a seed being sowed during those moments.
Wow.
You're sowing those seeds of growing so that when it's time for you to reap, there's a harvest. So in a way, you're sacrificing the things that we socially believe is great. We believe it's great to have a lot of friends. We believe it's great to have these connections and know all of these people. But at the end of the day, it's all about the relationship with God and who God trusts to put in your life and take out of your life,
Absolutely.
like you were saying.
Yeah.
And so the more that you are in tune with that, the more that you can take a step back from the personal and be like, man, like that person might have hurt me or I might have hurt them, because that happens. We all make mistakes, and realize, well, maybe this was just a lesson. Maybe this is somebody who was in this season planting these seeds. So when it's time to harvest, whether it's next year, whether it's 5-6 years for that, whether it's in your next relationship or the one who will potentially be the one you marry, you've already learned that lesson. God already planted those seeds, and you don't know when harvest is coming, but when it does, you can look back and be like, oh, that's why I had to go through this. This is why I felt so lonely during this season, or this is why I felt so down on myself, or this is when I realized that it was hard for me to forgive myself for something I did in the past, knowing that God has already forgiven you, right? So why are you being so hard on yourself?
Yeah.
And so these are some of the things that we're going through when we're going through these times of tribulations and personal relationships, because there's a reason why they're personal. They feel deep and important to you when they really are. But again, the top thing is making sure your personal relationship with God is correct, and you will be able to realize, okay, this was a season, and this wasn't something that was supposed to last forever. Yeah, right. The only thing that lasts forever is God.
And I think the issue is we live in a society where everything is instant, right? You can pull out your phone, boom, get instant news, I'm a big basketball guy, all right? So I'm checking the scores, boom, right to my phone, right?
Yep.
But when we talk about the things that we're going through, I think we instantly try to see, like, what is God doing in this moment, right? When you're not going to realize a lot of stuff until after the fact, like you said, looking back and gaining that perspective on things, because God only reveals one step at a time. He's not going to show you the entire blueprint, right? Nope. And I think if God was to show us the entire blueprint, there's a lot of stuff we'd be like, I'm good, God. I'm not even going to take that step, No. But he's encouraging us to trust him along the way. Like, I will guide your path each and every step of the way. He gives you light for your feet, right? If you look down at your feet, you can only see what's down there, right there. You can't see in front of you. It's like a dark room. You know what I mean? Yep. And you just got to trust, man. And this is just to encourage whoever may be listening. You may be going through a season of your life where you've had some friends that you really rock with, man. You saying like, man, like I'm just wondering why they left my life, or you start to question yourself. Man, don't do that, because at the end of the day, God wants the best for you, like we're saying, you know what I mean? And it leads me to this next point. I saw this elevator analogy, and it was talking about as you go on an elevator, right? You think you get on the first floor, right? And as you're going up, people come on, people come off, right? It's similar to your life. Like people are going to get on, they'll help you during that season, and people get off. You know what I mean? And there's no need to have like bad intentions towards them, or, you know, feeling like, man, like, why they do this? Like, man, just relax, bro. Like a lot of people are going through their own thing. Like you're not the main character. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we're all working together for God's purpose.
Yeah.
So I had a quote for you, another one. It says, like the churning waves of the ocean, life's challenges may toss us about, but they also carry to us new shores of opportunity.
Yeah.
I want to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah. No, I think that quote has kind of been instrumental to how some of the things in my life has went from not knowing what I was going to do when I got to Georgetown, thinking, okay, I want to do science, learning like, okay, science isn't working out too much for me. I might have to transition. So I started studying English and African-American studies, saying, okay, like remembering calling my mom and saying, yeah, this is what I'm majoring in. And she's like, boy, what are you going to do with that? And I'm just like, I don't know, but hear me out.
Let me cook.
Let me cook. Like I'm trusting God on this one.
Yeah.
You know, it's something here that's speaking to me. I don't know exactly what it is yet, but I can allow myself to experience the currents that you're talking about, because there's a new shore for me. There's a new island for me to explore.
Yeah.
And that island happened to be teaching. That island happened to be writing poetry. So I used to think that there was this set journey, like we were talking about at the beginning, like, oh, I know exactly what I'm going to do. In third grade, I knew I wanted to be a geologist, right? That's true. That's facts. You can ask my third grade teacher, Miss Henderson.
You wanted to study rocks, bro?
Yes, I wanted to be a geological engineer. Geological engineer. I stand on this. I wanted to study rocks for a living. Yes. I'm serious.
How does that sound?
I mean, I don't like it. It sounds boring, but for me, when I was little, that fascinated me. Rocks and nature and all of those things. And things change. Yeah. Right? Like I was so set on this that I couldn't even see that God was trying to steer me to a different way. There was a reason why God said, no, you're not going to the #1 geological engineering school in the country, even though you were accepted and you got a scholarship. Wow. We're gonna put you somewhere else where you can connect with people who are really giving you what I want, what I envision for you. Someone who can be a mentor to young students, someone who could be an example of what it looks like in the academic space to find your own self when you are essentially lost. Because that's where I was. I was here at Georgetown my freshman year, lost. Like, what is going on? There's too many things happening. And so I had to learn, literally my sophomore year, take a deep breath and move with the currents, be a little bit more malleable, be a little bit more flexible, allow God's purpose to move into my life instead of trying to force feed or like say, I know the plan. Like I have the plan. Like God's going to laugh at you if you tell him you know your plan.
Yeah.
Right. And I want to go back a little bit to what you were saying about you can only see the light on your feet. That's the part of the faith, right? It's like you're essentially on your path, on your journey, you're walking essentially blind. But the thing that you know is you have a light inside of you. So as far as you can extend that light, you might be able to see a little bit more of the journey. But at the end of the day, God knows the destination. That's true on your walk. That's true on the elevator. And the people that get on and off, they also have their own light and they also have their own destination and their own journey. So when God is steering them to a different way, just know you were probably the person to teach them a lesson in their season too. So it's a little bit more, and it's a little bit more than personal, because we take these relationships to be so personal, right? Yeah. But it's like, listen, their relationship is personal too. Yeah. So when you are understanding that we are coming at this situation from both of our own individual interests and individual strengths and weaknesses, and conversations and journeys, you can have a little bit more grace for what's happening on the other side. And you can learn that, okay, like I need to take a step back. Like this wasn't meant to be an attack on me.
Yeah.
This was just supposed to be a part of both of our individual stories as we progress and be the person that God wants us to be.
Yeah. Man, that's amazing. And I kind of want to touch on the grace part of things, right? Oftentimes we come to grips, and it may take us a while. Sometimes it may take us a year. Sometimes it may take us, a week. But we eventually learn to, okay, give a little bit of grace to people, right? Yeah. But I think oftentimes we don't give enough grace to ourselves, And when we're talking about like who we want to become or the most mature state of who I am, you got to give yourself room to grow and to become. Like you're gonna mess up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was talking to on the previous episode about like when I first got saved, I was so scared of like messing up. I'm like, man, I got to be the perfect Christian, And we're literally covered by the blood of Jesus. Like that's not to say that you go out and do whatever, because the Holy Spirit will convict you like, look, nope, you don't need to do that. You don't need to be around them people. But also, we got to realize that, man, like you can approach the throne of God with grace, knowing that you're covered by, and also that'll allow you to start spreading out to other people. But if you don't give yourself enough grace, you're never going to be able to give somebody else that same amount of grace. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's so true. It's so true. We are our own worst critics at times, and we try to put ourselves on a higher pedestal, but you can't put yourself on a higher pedestal than God.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like this high expectation that we have for ourselves. We have to learn how to give ourselves more grace, because it is going to be a struggle to try to obtain the life that God wants for us. But part of that struggle is part of the journey and the reason why Jesus Christ saved us, right? This is the reason why we can accept grace and accept grace for ourselves. And that allows us to have a little bit more grace with the people around us too. So
absolutely.
It's a word. Appreciate it.
Man, one reason that I started this podcast, and I've been asked this a few times before, like, why did you start this podcast? First of all, this is way outside my comfort zone. You know me from back when the Cadillac was on 3 flats, dog. Like, bro, I'm not the type to just get in front of a camera. I've never been that type of guy, right?
Yeah.
But I can remember, man, I watched a few podcasts. This was like right when I got saved, and I'm like, wow, like people are so open sharing their story. And I'm looking like, man, I thought I was the only one going through these particular things. But now, since y'all speaking out on it, that gives me a little comfortability to do it, right?
Yep.
And it reminded me, man, and I got to thinking, I'm like, what takes years of struggle, frustration, and deeply rooted inner work, allowing God to churn us into us having this amazing testimony to share on cameras, share whatever it is, only takes a moment for someone else to receive, and can cause so much healing, so much enlightening, and could help them along their paths, right? So I want you to talk about, you're a journaling guy and you go through your own life's processes. How do you kind of develop that understanding of knowing that, okay, what I'm doing right now, these different processes that I'm going through, writing 3 to 4 pages a day, whatever it is, just to put out a masterpiece that somebody's like, wow, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
How do you come to grips with that? Like, that's awesome, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's awesome. And it's so interesting because you read a piece of work and people either snap or clap and say, wow, that's amazing. You're just like, wow, like you really don't know everything that went. I have poems where essentially when it comes to my mind, I've been thinking about for 5+ years. It's just I'm finally able to have the words to put it on the page. These moments of meditation, these moments of journaling, these moments of quiet time where I'm literally just thinking. I spend a lot of time just thinking. Like if I could get paid just to think, I'd be living the dream. And so to finally have these thoughts that are in my head be able to be displayed on the page in various forms, in various ways, that it feels so good to me, but it also feels better when it resonates with somebody else. Like, oh, you might have had a similar thought, but you're finally able to see it in page form, and it's finally able to start making sense. There was a poem one of the first poems I wrote when I was in Iowa, but I got the idea of it from this poem this poem I read in class 3 years prior. And I kind of just meditated on it and meditated. And then I'm doing more research, doing more writing, doing more reading, and realizing like, oh, I have a full idea here. I have a poem that talks about so many different aspects, and I grouped them all together. But it took 4 years to make it. Wow. Another example is a poem that's forthcoming in a journal. It started from this. I was on a plane ride with this little boy, and basically I just let him experience this grief that he had over his favorite rapper, and I didn't know what to do with that moment until 2-3 years later. I'm in the shower. I'm just like, wait, that kid was up to something. I didn't know what he was up to, and I didn't have the words for it until 3 years later. Wow. Realizing like he was using his tablet to play this Roblox character that resembled the deceased rapper that he looked up to. Wow. And it's like, what does that moment mean? It means that he was learning how to grieve by creating this imaginary world where they both could live, where neither one of them died, right? And I'm just like, this is so profound. But in the moment, I had no clue what was going on. Wow. I just felt a voice say, let him be. Let his being be. Let him play. Don't try to tell him he should look up to a different rapper. He should listen to Lecrae. Just let him be, because he's doing so much work right now that we overlook. And so I say all of that just to say you can get a lot out of these moments in life as long as you're able to spend time reflecting and meditating on them. And so when I'm journaling, when I'm writing, it's really coming from these different moments that I've just passed by, maybe passively, that I'm able to reflect on. And the moments that I'm experiencing now, I know, hey, in 5-6 years, I could be writing a poem about them. Yeah. So I try to be present in every single aspect of my life, which is really difficult when you're like kind of spread too thin like I am sometimes. But it's contributed to me being able to live a life of poetry, because I'm able to explain the intimate tellings of life. And that's always what I want my poetry to explain, the intimate tellings of life, what's going on inside the mind and the head, and what's going on in history. Yeah. So that's what I strive to do, and it takes time. Yeah.
Man. Wow. Yeah. That's amazing. I read one time, and I forget the exact number, but it was talking about how many thoughts the human mind has a day. How do you decide what thoughts to focus on, which thoughts to take captive, and which ones to let go?
Man, it makes my head hurt just thinking about it. That's for the concussion, though. But seriously, wow. Okay, but seriously though, when it comes to what thoughts to keep, what thoughts to throw away, it has a lot to do with the journals, actually. So if I'm journaling in the morning, the thoughts of either yesterday or the thoughts of last night or the thoughts about what I have to do today are literally displayed all out on the page. So I can get those out the way. And then once I can do that, I'm focused on saying, okay, what is important for me to tackle today? I think that is a lot of it is about organizing your thoughts. And so I also try to keep each month, I try to do this, right? It's like, this is what I want to do. I write out all of these different tasks that I have to do. And then I categorize them. Okay, is this important? Not important? Is this urgent? Is this not urgent? And I have these 4 quadrants. I forgot the name of the method, but it's a really well-known method. Yeah. And it allows me to clear my mind because I already have the things that I have to do daily, the deadlines that I have to do in a couple of weeks, all written out for the whole month. And I just use them. I just post all of these sticky notes on this board, and I'm able to say, okay, I have this time. I don't have to think about what I have to do. let me grab this off the board and do that. And it helps me organize my thoughts. It helps my head hurt less. And it makes me be able to organize what's going on, because there's a lot of moving parts in the type of life that I'm living right now, and it's all a blessing. But it could be a lot to keep up with. And so I do that, which helps me like say, okay, this is what I have to do. And then the time where things are a little bit more quiet, I can think and meditate on what I've been able to do, what I desire to do, and then and think about what God is trying to push me to do. What are the signs that are happening in my life that's telling me, okay, maybe I should really try this catering business thing out. Yeah. Maybe I should write this poem about a particular time and place in my life. So all of these things it's giving me more time to sit with God and be able to say, okay, this time is dedicated to you. Yeah. What do you want me to do? What do you want me to get out of these thoughts that are just in my head? Yeah. How do I, and like I said, journaling, writing out my day, planning my day, making to-do lists, they all help. Yeah.
Let's get to the music side of things.
Yeah.
So I remember our friendship first started at a 7th grade lunch table.
Yeah.
We were beatboxing, beating on tables. We got the pens out, freestyling, right? But it grows into something where I believe it was sophomore year, you reached out, you was like, hey, man, like, check out my new project I just dropped. I'm like, what? Bro done dropped a project? And I'm listening to the songs, and I'm like, dude is real life incorporating his life into these songs. You're not just rapping about something that's popular in society. Yeah. You're actually incorporating that. What made you kind of inspired to do that?
Yeah, it goes back to my background in music. So growing up, at first it was like, oh, I listen to stuff on the radio. And it's like, that's cool, but those are like commercial hits and they have a certain audience. But my dad, he loved hip hop. Growing up, he listened to hip hop. He also rapped a little bit, or at least that's what he said. He has these tapes that nobody has seen that he said he raps on. So I'm just like, they don't exist, dude. And so he always kept me around rap in some type of way, shape, and form.
Yeah.
So early Kanye, from Late Registration, College Dropout, Graduation, those albums were playing in everywhere I went. Playing in the car when we were going to practice, playing in the car when we were going to pick up people and visiting on Sunday. So I'm listening to this conscious Kanye along with this conscious Lupe Fiasco. And so they're incorporating not only their real life into rhymes, but they're also incorporating like history. They're also incorporating politics. They're also incorporating all of these different aspects to make a holistic experience for the listener.
Yeah. And
even when I was 6, 7, 8, but I'm still like holding on to it. And then it jumped up a level when I was introduced to Christian rap. And I'm just like, wow, this is not only real life that they're putting into these lines, they're putting in the word, the gospel, Jesus Christ, the God. Like they're quoting Bible scriptures in their lines. They don't do it as much anymore, but that was a part of their mission early, like Lecrae and Tadashi and Trip Lee. And I just loved it. I'm like, oh my, like this is, and that's all I listened to for like 5 straight years was Christian hip hop. And so we get into 7th grade and I already have this knowledge of what it means to incorporate my real life into my raps. And so basically it just took me a while to really feel comfortable saying, okay, like I'm in the booth, I'm on the stage, let's get it. Like, let's actually talk about my life and let's talk about my journey and let's sprinkle in like wordplay along with talking about things that happened in my life, along with talking about history and talking about my family. And it's something that once I started really saying I'm doing this, it was easy because I've been passively listening to this type of stuff for the past 15 years.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Wow.
That's kind of a part of it.
Wow. And okay, I got a surprise for the viewers. So, you know that intro that y'all hearing, that turn on the lamp, I don't go close to the guy. This is a guy. He made the song. Yeah. So I'm going to tell him a quick story of how I came about it. So I'm thinking, as I'm planning season 2, right? I was in the middle of a fast, and I'm like, God just revealing things to me. I'm just jotting it down. And one of the things that, again, he gives us a creative mind.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like, I kind of want an intro video. I don't know how I'm going to do it, right? I'm not real like this super technology guy, but I'm like, that's something that I want to incorporate.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking like music. Okay. Obviously you got all the laws where you got to, get rights to music. I'm like, I'm not trying to go that route. Mm-hmm. And I got to thinking, and I remember guys like, hit up Glenn. I'm like, duh, Devin. My best friend's a freaking music artist, Yeah. So I hit you up, and man, I'm so appreciative. So I hit you up. I can still remember. And you were like, I'm like telling you, I'm like, look, like, you think you can make a theme song for you? All you said, I got you.
Yeah. That's
Give
all
me
I
a
need.
day. That's why I'm like, bro, you got a lot going on. You was like, no. Give me a day, bro. Mm-hmm. Like, I'll send you a sample and then we can build from there. I'm like, okay, cool. Kid y'all not. I got a text message later on that night. It wasn't even a full day. Later on that night, hey, bro, check this out. Like, tell me what you think about it. So I'm like, cool. And I want the full experience. So I put it on the sound bar. I'm like, okay. I'm sitting back. And then, I'm like, okay. Then all I hear is, I'm like, hold on.
Yeah, the beat.
And then, yeah. And then you start, turn on the lamp. I'm going to post it. I'm like, bro, I got the goosebumps. Because I'm like, bro, really crafted this. And I remember hitting you back like, bro, this is amazing. You was like, like, it's still kind of choppy. I got to sound it. I'm like, bro, if you can get any better than this, bro, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and so you sent me the final thing. I'm like, bro, I gotta put this on there. And I felt like it was so personalized because of our friendship. We know each other on a deeper level. Yeah. You've seen the vision back when I was just starting this on Zoom. I didn't have an idea how to start a podcast. And you was like, kind of navigating me through that. But you seen the vision all along. And you were able to incorporate that into the song. So what I'm going to do for the viewers today, we got a little special edition, all right? We're going to go, maybe not the whole song, right? But I kind of want you to dive into some of the lyrics because it's some powerful stuff, man. So if you don't mind, we'll start off with that.
Yeah, we can do that. So I'm never afraid to bring out my notes. So I'm going to have my lyrics on just in case I don't fumble. But, the song is called Turn Up. So, it's just a play on turn on the lamp, turning up and like really getting hyped for the conversations that we have. So when I was thinking about a song, I'm like, okay, this is a theme song. I want this to be like, I want this to incorporate all the aspects that make this podcast special. So talking about the individual journey, talking about God, talking about this turn on the lamp moment, knowing that you are very intentional with the people that you interview, young people who are trying to live in their faith, and then getting other people to have a diverse conversation about what it means to live a life for God and what it means to figure out what that journey is. And so that was a big part of what I was writing. So the first thing was, okay, we got to get the hook. We got to get the intro hook. So the first intro and hook goes, turn on the lamp. I don't go postal till God give his stamp. We going global. I'm in with the champs. I said at the Oval, they told me I can't. Huh? Repeat again. Turn on the lamp. I don't go postal till God give his stamp. We going global. I'm in with the champs. I said at the Oval, they told me I can't. Huh? And then it goes into this verse. I'm feeling like Oprah because you get a chance and you get a chance. Tell us the story. How did you advance? The testimony is a glorious dance. Never gonna question the fam. Never gonna question the fam. Never gonna question direction. I got the fate like I'm stepping. In my back pocket is a little weapon.
Okay. So stop there.
Okay.
All right. So you talk about Oprah, you get a chance and you get a chance. Tell us the story. How did you advance? Obviously, on the surface level, it's like, okay, like he's spitting. But was there a deeper connotation with that?
Yeah, of course. So chances meaning multiple things, but of course, like Oprah, if you watch the Oprah Winfrey Show, every single episode is giveaways and you get a car and you get a car and you get money and you get so in a way I'm kind of comparing God to Oprah in a way where I'm just like, no blasphemy, but it's more like God is going to continue to give you chances. God is going to continue to give you chances because of the sacrifice of Jesus Christ. So you get a chance to relive your story. You get a chance to relive your life. You get a chance to get on this podcast and tell your story. How were you able to move on from your trials and tribulations? So that's kind of part of it.
Just a minute.
Yeah.
Because I like what you said. You said God gives you chances, right? Man, the disciples that Jesus chose, if y'all really look deep into the word and see some of their background, he took murderers. He took people who society threw them away and turned them into, man, we're reading their stories nowadays. You know what I mean? So I think that's important, man, not to interrupt, but that's important to note that you can always turn your life around.
Yeah.
Right. But you can't do it alone. Because if you could have did it alone, you would have did it. Right.
Yeah.
And that's why it's important to incorporate God to what you got going.
Yeah.
But man, continue.
No, facts. So we go down to the last part. The last line is, in my back pocket is a little weapon. Then I go, feeling like David Goliath if they want to try it. I know that haters be testing. Manolo, if we stand divided. I sidestep them like I'm taking. 1 into 3 like I'm backing. Hands witness Jehovah, so when I throw up the rock, I'm rapping and won't allow interceptions. That's the end.
Talk about that.
Yeah, so it's a lot here that's just kind of fun, that I like talking about. So in my back pocket is a little weapon. I'm using that to talk about the actual Bible itself being in my back pocket, keeping it with me, and the weapon that I can use as for against spiritual warfare.
Absolutely.
Right? And then that goes directly into David Goliath and that story of fighting Goliath and what David did with minimal resources. Like we're fighting using spiritual warfare with our Bible and with our faith, right? Which is more than enough, right? And so if they want to try it, I know that haters be testing. Manolo, if we stand divided. And so there's a song by Trip Lee called Manolo, and it's kind of the same type of energy, right? Thinking about connecting us if we divide. And then I go, I sidestep them like I'm Tekken. So if you're not familiar with the game Tekken, it is a 3D fighter game.
Bro, I'm trash at that game.
Yes, but it's one of the hardest fighting games ever because you not only have to worry about the person you're facing, but you also have to worry about, you can sidestep their attacks and the camera like literally shifts as you're sidestepping. So it's like this circular stage. It's really cool. So like sidestepping haters, like I'm in the game Tekken. Like it's just that easy to sidestep people who are not walking with the same energy and same faith that we're walking with. And then I go to 1 into 3 like I'm Beckham. So 13, 1 into 3.
I didn't catch that.
But then also the 3.
Oh my God.
1 into 3 like I'm Beckham. Hands witness Jehovah, but also Hove, Jay-Z. So when I throw up the rock, I'm repping.
Yeah.
And then how you catch a ball, you got the diamond. So if you catch it like this, you get it.
Yeah.
Because it's not bouncing off of your hands.
Wow.
So 1 into 3 like I'm backing. Hands witness, being a witness.
Yeah.
To Jehovah, so when I throw up the rock, I'm repping and won't allow interceptions.
Wow.
That's how I end the first verse, and we go back to turn on the lamp.
Yeah.
I don't go postal to God give his stamps. Yeah. So do we want to do the second verse?
Let's do a little bit of second verse.
Okay. I like the second verse because I like structuring my song. So the first verse is kind of like that introductory. Okay, we're gonna do some wordplay. We're gonna do some Bible references. We're gonna get a little witty with it. The second verse is okay. Now I'm about to tell like the story of the podcast. So I'm like, man, you gotta love it. Season 1 caught some eyes. They didn't expect nothing. Season 2 we going live like we stimmied up the budget. Adding more to production, conversation going public, no condemnation of it. Speak truth to your story, we never judge. Talent and gifted, we pushing love.
Wow.
Pushing the stories that's guiding trust. Not on the news because it's obvious that hope empowering the people. And lamp is the plug giving power to the people. Yeah.
Oh my God.
And I enjoyed writing this part so much because, again, like you were saying, I saw this podcast progress from its creation to literally where it is now, being in this production studio with these cameras and lights. And it's like, okay, like season 1, you did it because God gave you a vision. And so it's like, you got to love what you're seeing in here. Season 1 caught some eyes. People saw, we had some views in season 1. Like there's some views on YouTube. Like it got people's attention. Like people were excited to see, okay, are you going to vamp this up again? Season 2, we going live production. Like we stimmied up the budget, so we got a little bit more, you're investing a little bit more into this, And so, added more to production, the conversation going public, no condemnation of it. Speak truth to your story, we never judge. And I feel like every guest that comes on here, they feel like they can tell their truth because you give them the space to do it. Right. And it's a no judgment zone. You're giving us the same grace that God is giving us. So it's just very, very powerful what you're doing. Not on the news because it's obvious, right? I think these messages and being able to be a positive influence, talk about great stories and how, even though you're going through trials and tribulations, how you're able to come up on the top and progress is something that's not always shared in the media, especially when it comes to people that of our color. And so for you to have this platform, I wanted to make sure people know, like, hope isn't something that rules the world. Fear does. And so to have this hope, we're really telling our stories, and we're talented and we're gifted. And we're giving out love to each other. We're giving each other flowers at the end of the show. We're expressing the joy that we have for fellowship, for God, for each other. And so we're empowering the people. We're empowering all of us in this journey, all of us in the Turn on the Land community, those who are watching, those who don't know about it, that will know about it. So I wanted to make sure, okay, this is what the purpose is. And then I get the last four bars of it. This is the sequel, season 2. Better strap up because it's lethal. Me and my brothers are lethal. Me and my sisters are equal. The smoke and the mirrors are see-through. We know whose hearts are really evil. And then I go into, I don't know what's a palm me, but it probably ain't no palm tree.
Yeah.
You know the background on that, right?
Man, so we was initially, when we started, like I said, 7th grade, we were just rapping at the freestyling at the table. 7th graders, we just talking, right? Yeah. But I knew this man was different because some of the stuff he was saying was like way beyond our time. Like, I don't know what it meant at the time, but he was like, I don't know what's a palm mean, but it probably ain't no palm trees. And I'm just like, I don't know what it is, but it's something deep. Like, just keeping it real. But nah, man, it was fascinating how, like, you just incorporated everything into the song. Yeah. And just knowing that, man, it's more than a song. Like, again, with everything that you've done, like from your writing, your journaling, you're always telling a story. Your music, you know what I mean? Yeah. Even your cooking, like, you telling where that originated from, why you do it. It's always important to know, like, why you do something, because when you realize why you do something, whatever obstacles hit, whatever adversity hit, you're going to be able to push through because you're doing it for a greater purpose than yourself, know, and that's important. So kind of wrapping up the show, man, I want to get to the flowers moment. It's time to give you your flowers, bro. Y'all don't know, man, this man is amazing. Like, it's rare that you can hold on to a friendship, a brotherhood, from middle school, right? And it's funny, man, because him being down in Dallas this weekend, and I was talking to you this morning about, bro, like, can you believe this, bro? We're really out here adulting, bro. Yeah. Like, bro, over my crib for the weekend, you know what I mean? Or like, when I traveled up to Iowa to visit family, like, he drove all the way from Iowa City, like an hour away, just to have breakfast with me before I hopped on the airport. I'm just like, man, that's what it's about. Like, these friendships is something that I've always prayed over, man. And going back to it, man, I just want to give you your flowers and tell you, bro, to keep going, Like, I can't wait to try some of this food he cooking today, y'all. Yeah. But just keep going with this with your catering business, with your writing, being a professor, pouring into the next generation, you know, it's something that we always talked about, man. And aside from what you do, man, just who you are, I just want to tell you, man, like, keep going, man. Seriously, because there's so many people being affected in a good way from the light that you're shining upon them, man. And you're unapologetically you, you know? You're not trying to be something you're not. You know, you're a very intellectual individual. You say a lot of words that I got to look up later on. but seriously, man, like, bro, it's amazing, man. And hearing your journey, bro, of your speech impediment to now, how you articulate different stuff, there's no question, man. This is why I tell y'all about don't put a limit on God, because God can turn a kid with a speech impediment to now you're the voice of so many, man.
Yeah.
Man, that's a flower moment, bro.
Man, I appreciate it. And you know I can't get off of here without giving you your flowers too, man.
Yeah.
Bro, I just think about the moment of going into 7th grade and being very anxious, right? We have a word for that now, right? I couldn't describe it at the time, but I was very anxious about going to a new school again, figuring out, am I going to have any friends? Figuring out, you know, like, I get to play football now. I'm still in speech, like all of these things. Am I going to do band? And every step, you were there in every step of the way. You were in band. We played football together. We took classes together. And I was coming into my own, the kid that was walking behind in class after lunch. And, you know, the teacher was like, come on, Glenn. Like, I'm just kind of like, man, like I'm kind of just doing my thing. like that was me kind of trying to figure out ways to set up my own individual self. And it helped knowing that I got somebody who in Devon who came from somewhere else too, you know, who's not used to being in this area, Cedar Hill. And he just kind of molded to the environment, but also was genuinely himself, saying, yes, I'm from Iowa. Yes, I went to West Mesquite. Yes, I'm this. So it really gave me more confidence to really build up myself also. And there's a reason why I graduated speech that year. And so progressing from that, man, I just want to say thank you for always being somebody that I can know, okay, you're doing your thing, you know, and thank you for connecting with me, continuously connecting with me over the past 3-4 years, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate everything that you've been doing as far as it goes for your mentorship, as you have learned to be a coach, and you know that that's something that you want to do with your life because you're so important to these kids. They see you, they see what you've done in your life, and they aspire to want to have some type of fraction of the success that you've had. And so I appreciate you for that. I appreciate you for this podcast and really this vision that you had 2 years ago, you know, really, really going all in on it, saying season 2, we're gonna up the ante up.
Yeah.
You know, I really appreciate you for having me on here today, letting me talk about, you know, my life and what I'm going through, what I've experienced and enjoyed and learned from this life.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, man, I love you, bro.
Love you too, dog.
Love you, fam.
You too, dog. I'm gonna end off this, man. This is a message to the viewers, right? You know, I always gotta leave y'all with something. So, you should be confident, and it doesn't matter where you are with your walk with God. If you're a new beginner, if you're kind of like on the fence, whatever it is, if you're all the way deep in it, right? I can rest my mind at night knowing that I can approach whatever and whenever because I know the victory is already won. Me being a coach, there's a lot of times where you don't know what the outcome is going to be, right? Jesus has won that victory for us. It's a fixed game, bro. It's fixed. All you got to do is accept it.
Yep.
That's all you got to do, right?
All you got to do.
And regardless of the outcome, right? However your outcome in life, like whether you have a specific goal, whatever it is, right? However that ends up, just the reality that you don't have to die the death that you deserve because Jesus paid that sacrifice is so crucial. And as we're gearing into Easter weekend, man, if you know that you've already won through his power and that same power is in you, why wouldn't you live boldly and courageous? Why wouldn't you just step out and say, man, I'm hearing I'm hearing God tell me to start this.
Yeah.
I'm just going to start it. Don't worry about what anybody else said. Because look, if I wouldn't have listened to the calling of starting this podcast, and I don't know how it's going to turn out. It may reach 10 people. It may reach 1 million, right? But if I didn't step out and do this, there's a lot of people that wouldn't have been affected, right? There's a saying of like, not asking why, but why not?
Yeah.
Like, why not be the change that you wish to see?
Exactly.
Why not be the light in the world that you're just like walking around like, man, I wish it was this. I wish it was. Maybe God is calling you to be that person, So I want to lead this into prayer. If everybody would bow their heads, right? God, thank you so much for waking us up another day, just allowing us to be in this moment here in your presence, having this conversation. We thank you for everyone who's involved in the process. Lord, I ask that you comfort all of us, that you give us all a refreshing mind, that you renew our mind, you renew our faith. God, anything that you're placing on our heart, let us not sit still with it and to go forth instead. God, we thank you for the visions that you give us. In the times that you are not speaking, that's the time where you're telling us to just trust in you, to just be in your presence, to get in prayer, to intercede on somebody else's behalf, because life is not always about us. So God, I thank you so much for just the stories, the testimonies that happen in our everyday lives that takes for so long for somebody to go through, but can heal someone at an instant. Let us not be shy in sharing our testimonies and stories. Let us step forth in what you called us to do. And we give you all the praise and glory. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Turn on the lamp. I don't go postal till God give his stamp. We going global, I'm in with the champs. I sit at the Oval, they told me I can't. I'm feeling like Oprah, cause you get a chance and you get a chance. Tell us.